Acti, the Ire Decree and the Queen's Fall. They say Alpha King Valerius of the Shadow Moon Pack doesn't have a heart, that he traded it for power the day his first mate died screaming, her blood turning black with a curse no healer could break. I know the truth is worse. He has a heart. He just uses it to fuel his hatred. From my hiding place in the exiled territories, I watched the smoke rise from burning villages, heard the screams of Omegas like me being dragged from their homes, smelled the ash of bodies thrown onto pyres, their only crime carrying the wrong scent in their blood, the red scent, my bloodline, my death sentence. All Omegas bearing the red scent mark shall be hunted and executed without trial, by order of Alpha King Valerius, under the Iron Decree. The proclamation had been issued 5 years ago, after his first mate, Luna Celestia, died of the Red Death curse, a curse that supposedly only my bloodline could carry, a curse that turned blood black and rotted you from the inside out until nothing remained but screaming agony. I was 12 when the Iron Decree came down, 12 when I watched them drag my mother from our home, 12 when I learned that being born with crimson undertones in your scent was enough to sentence you to death. Now I'm 17, living like an animal in the Exile Lands, surviving on scraps and cunning and a forbidden healing gift that flows through my red scent blood. The gift that could save lives, if anyone would let me close enough to try. My name is Lyra, and I should have been dead years ago. But the moon goddess has a cruel sense of humor, because the day everything changed started with the queen falling. I was foraging for herbs in the dead forest, a stretch of land so corrupted by dark magic that even the exiled territories avoided it when I felt it, a ripple of wrongness through the air, like reality itself had hiccuped. Poison, ancient, deadly. My red scent blood recognized it instantly, singing with warning in my veins. Somewhere, someone powerful was dying, and the poison eating them alive was the same one that had killed Luna Celestia 5 years ago. No! I whispered, dropping my basket. Not again. I shouldn't have cared. The Shadow Moon Pack had hunted my people to near extinction. Alpha King Valerius had personally signed the death warrants of everyone I'd ever loved. But I was a healer. It was burned into my bones, woven through my cursed blood. When someone was dying, I felt it like a hook in my chest, pulling, demanding I help, even if that someone was the enemy. Sound, urgent hoofbeats, the baying of hunting hounds, branches snapping. The hunting party came at dawn. I'd made it back to my small cave, had just finished packing my meager supplies to run, when they found me. 50 warriors in Shadow Moon armor, their wolves' eyes glowing silver in the dim light, and leading them, mounted on a massive black destrier, was him, Alpha King Valerius. I'd seen him once before, from a distance, during a raid, but nothing had prepared me for the full force of his presence up close. He was massive, easily 6.5 feet of pure muscle and lethal grace. His hair was black as midnight, his eyes a shocking ice blue that seemed to see straight through flesh and bone to the trembling soul beneath. His scent hit me like a physical blow. Cold iron winter frost, and dominance so absolute it made my knees weak. And underneath it all, faint, barely there, but undeniable, the electric snap of a mate bond trying to form. No, 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 no. There. He pointed directly at me, his voice like grinding stone. The Omega with the red scent. Take her alive. I ran. I'd always been fast, had to be to survive this long. I shifted mid-stride, my small russet wolf emerging, and darted into the underbrush. Behind me, I heard the pack give chase, heard Valerius's wolf roar with the thrill of the hunt. But I knew these woods, knew every hidden path, every trick of shadow and light. I almost made it. I was 3 miles from the border, almost the safe zone, when something massive slammed into me from the side. I went tumbling, shifting back to human form as I hit the ground hard enough to knock the air from my lungs. Valerius stood over me, back in human form, barely winded. Up close, he was even more terrifying, all sharp edges and controlled violence, his ice-blue eyes burning with something that looked like recognition and rage. You, his voice was low, dangerous. You're the one who's been hiding in the dead forest, the healer who's been treating rogues. I tried to scramble back, but he moved faster, his hand closing around my throat and pinning me to the ground. Not choking, just holding, his touch burning against my skin. The mate bond flared bright and undeniable. We both felt it, both recoiled from it like we'd been struck. "Impossible," he growled, his face twisting with fury and something that might have been fear. "You're red scent. You're poison. You're—" "Not what you think." I gasped out. "The curse, it wasn't us. We were framed." "Liar." His grip tightened. "I watched my mate die from your bloodline's curse. I held her while she screamed and bled black and rotted from the inside. Then you know the poison currently killing your queen is the same one." The words burst from me, desperate. "I felt it this morning. Someone's poisoned Luna Ilera with Red Death, and I'm the only one who can save her." He went very, very still. "How do you know about the queen?" "My blood knows. Red scent Omegas are healers. We can sense poison, disease, death. That's our true gift. Not spreading curses, but stopping them." I met his ice-blue eyes, letting him see the truth in mine. "Someone poisoned your mate with Red Death to frame my bloodline. Again. And they're using your grief and rage to finish what they started, genocide." For a long moment, he just stared at me. Then he released my throat and stood, his expression unreadable. "Chain her. Bring her to the dungeon." He turned away, his voice cold as winter. "If the queen dies, the red scent Omega burns with her." As they dragged me toward the horses, wrists bound in silver chains that burned against my skin, I caught one last glimpse of the Alpha King's face. He looked haunted, and I realized the truth. Valerius wasn't heartless. He'd just bared his heart so deep beneath hatred and guilt that he'd forgotten where to find it. Good. Hearts could be excavated. Hatred could be redirected. I just had to stay alive long enough to prove who the real enemy was. Act 2. The capture and the cage. The Shadow Moon Fortress. The Shadow Moon Fortress rose from the mountainside like a scar on the landscape, all black stone and iron spikes, designed to intimidate and dominate. They brought me through a side entrance, away from prying eyes, down corridors that grew progressively darker and colder. The dungeon was exactly what I expected. Stone walls weeping with moisture, the smell of old blood and despair, cells that had held countless prisoners before me. They threw me into one and locked the silver-reinforced door. I collapsed onto the filthy straw, my wrists still burning from the chains, my wolf whimpering in the back of my mind. Through the tiny barred window high above, I could see a sliver of sky turning from dawn to day. Somewhere in this fortress, the queen was dying, and somewhere the real poison was watching, waiting, planning their next move. I pulled myself to sitting, pressing my back against the cold stone, and closed my eyes. My red scent gift had always been strongest when I was quiet, centered. Now I reached out with it, searching for the signature of the poison. There, faint but present. Somewhere above me, maybe 3 or 4 floors up, the poison was active, spreading, slowly destroying the queen's body from the inside out. She had days at most, maybe only hours. The door clanged open. I scrambled to my feet as Alpha King Valerius entered, alone. He filled the small cell with his presence, his cold iron sent overwhelming in confined space. The mate bond pulled between us like a living thing, and I saw him fight against it. Saw the moment he crushed the instinct to protect me. The queen is dying. His voice was flat, emotionless. The court healers say it's a wasting illness. They're wrong, aren't they? It's Red Death poison, the same thing that killed Luna Celestia. I forced myself to stand tall, to meet his eyes. But Alpha King, Red Death doesn't occur naturally. It has to be created, deliberately crafted from corrupted red scent blood and dark magic. Someone made it. Someone administered it. Twice. His jaw clenched. You expect me to believe that 5 years ago, someone poisoned my first mate to frame your bloodline? That this is all some elaborate conspiracy? I expect you to use your brain instead of your rage. The words came out sharper than I intended, but I was tired of being afraid. Think about it. Luna Celestia dies of Red Death. You issue the Iron Decree, hunting my people to extinction. Now your second mate falls to the exact same poison, but there are barely any Reds and Omegas left to blame. Don't you find that suspicious? Something flickered across his face. Doubt. Recognition. Who benefits from both queens dying? I pressed. Who gains power when you're weak with grief? Who's been whispering in your ear about the red scent threat? Enough. But his voice had lost some of its certainty. Even if what you say is true, even if someone is framing your bloodline, that doesn't explain why you can heal what my healers cannot. Because Red Death was designed specifically to resist normal healing. I moved closer to bars, separating us. Only red scent blood can neutralize it. We're not the poison, we're the antidote. That's why someone wants us extinct. So no one can cure what they create. Valerius stared at me for a long moment. Then he turned and walked out without a word. The door slammed shut, leaving me alone in the dark. But I'd seen something in his eyes before he left. A crack in his certainty. A question mark where there had only been conviction before. It was a start. The court healer's failure. Hours passed. Or maybe days. In the windowless cell, time became meaningless. They brought me water but no food, and I was grateful for the water at least. I needed to stay strong, stay focused. The queen was dying faster now. I could feel it in my blood, the poison accelerating, devouring her from within. The door opened again. This time, it wasn't Valerius. The man who entered was tall and lean, with sharp features and amber eyes that assessed me with cold calculation. He wore the insignia of a beta, second in command. His scent was pine and smoke, but underneath it was something off, something that made my red scent blood recoil. So you're the infamous red scent Omega. His voice was smooth, cultured, the one who claims she can save our queen. I can save her, if you'd let me try. Let you try. He laughed, the sound devoid of humor. Your red scent, your very existence is what's killing her. The king was weak to bring you here alive. He should have executed you in the field. And let the queen die? What kind of beta advises his alpha to abandon his mate? His eyes flashed with something dark, a practical one. Queen Lyra is unfortunate collateral, but her death will cement what we all know to be true, that red scent Omegas are a plague that must be eradicated completely. I slid down my spine. You're the one who poisoned her. Careful, Omega. He stepped closer to the bars, his smile sharp. Accusations without proof are dangerous, especially for prisoners awaiting execution. Does the Alpha King know you're here? Does he know his Beta is threatening the only person who can save his mate? The Alpha King is occupied with his dying queen, as he should be. Beta Kale, I'd heard guards use his name, tilted his head. You'll get your chance to prove your healing abilities. And when you inevitably fail, when your forbidden blood only hastens her death, the king will finally understand that mercy is weakness. He turned to leave, then paused at the door. By the way, that mate bond you're both feeling? It's unfortunate. Makes things messier. But don't worry. Bonds can be broken, especially when one half is dead. The door slammed shut. I stood frozen, my mind racing. Beta Kale had as good as confessed. He'd poisoned Queen Lyra, probably poisoned Luna Celestia 5 years ago too. But why? What did he gain from killing the queens and framing my bloodline? Unless he wanted chaos. Wanted Valerius weakened by grief and rage. Too distracted by hunting Reds and Omegas to see the real threat. Wanted the pack destabilized so someone else could seize power. A Beta positioning himself for a coup. Moon Goddess. I whispered. He's going to kill me. Let the queen die and take the throne in the chaos. I had to warn Valerius. Had to make him see the truth before it was too late. The desperate bargain. The door crashed open hours later. Valerius filled the entrance, and even in the dim light, I could see the desperation carved into his face. His ice-blue eyes were wild, his usual control fraying at the edges. She's dying. Now, the healers can't stop it. His voice was raw. If you could do anything at all, I'll grant you a quick death instead of burning. How generous. I stood, keeping my voice steady despite my racing heart. I can save her, but I need 3 things. Access to her chambers, specific herbs from your stores, and your word that you won't interfere with the ritual. Done. All of it. He unlocked the cell himself, his hands shaking slightly. But Omega, if this is a trick, if you harm her in any way, I will make your death last days. I'm aware. I stepped out of the cell, swaying slightly. He reached out instinctively to steady me, his hand on my elbow, and the mate bond flared so bright between us that we both gasped. His touch was fire and ice. His scent wrapped around me like a claim. And for one perfect, terrible second, I saw past the Alpha King to the broken man underneath, the one who'd loved and lost, who was about to lose again, who was terrified of being left alone in the dark. Don't, he said hoarsely, pulling back. Don't look at me like that. Like what? Like you can see me. He turned away sharply. You're here to heal the queen. Nothing more. Of course, Alpha King. But we both knew it was a lie. They brought me to the queen's chambers under heavy guard. Beta Kale was there, his amber eyes glittering with malice as I entered. Around the massive bed stood court officials, healers, and warriors, all of them watching me with suspicion and barely concealed hatred. And in the bed, dying slowly and in obvious agony, was Queen Lyra. She was beautiful even in illness. Delicate features, golden hair spread across silk pillows, her skin taking on the telltale gray pallor of Red Death. Her breathing was labored, and when she opened her eyes briefly, I saw they were clouding over with black veins. Moon Goddess, I breathed, moving to her side. How long has she been like this? 3 days, Valerius said quietly. It started as a mild fever. Now Now she's hours from complete system failure. I checked her pulse. Too fast, too weak. Examined her eyes. The black veins were spreading from her pupils. The poison is in its final stage. Any longer and even red scent blood won't be able to save her. Then begin. Valerius's command was absolute. Do whatever you must. I turned to the guards. I need yarrow root, silver moon petals, and bloodbane extract from your herb stores. Fresh, not dried. Bloodbane is poison. Beta Kale interjected smoothly. You're asking for ingredients to kill her faster. Bloodbane in normal doses is poison. In micro doses combined with red scent blood, it neutralizes red death. I met his gaze steadily. Unless you prefer I let her die, I'm sure that will be very convenient for you, Beta. His eyes narrowed dangerously, but Valerius cut in. Get her the herbs. Now. While they retrieved the ingredients, I prepared myself for what was coming. The ancient red scent healing ritual was brutal. It required the healer to take the poison into their own body, neutralize it with their blood, and transfer the cure back to the patient. It would hurt, badly, and there was a chance I wouldn't survive it. But I'd made a choice the moment I'd sensed the queen dying. Healer first, survivor second. They returned with the herbs. I crushed them methodically, mixing them into a paste, my hands steady despite my fear. Then I pulled out the small knife I'd managed to keep hidden in my boot. The guards had missed it in their initial search. What are you doing? Valerius demanded as I brought the blade to my palm. The ritual requires my blood. Red scent blood specifically. I met his eyes. This is going to look like dark magic. It's not. It's the oldest healing technique our bloodline knows. But if you interfere, if anyone touches me during the process, we'll both die. Understood? He nodded slowly, though I could see the tension in every line of his body. Understood. Good. I took a deep breath. Then let's save your queen. I cut deep into my palm, letting crimson blood, true red, bright as rubies, pool in my hand. Mixed it with the herbal paste. Then I placed my bleeding palm over Queen Lyra's heart, and I began to chant in the old tongue, the words my mother had taught me before they dragged her away to die. The poison responded immediately. I felt it surge toward my hand, drawn by the red scent blood like a predator to prey. It poured into me through connection, black and burning and wrong, filling my veins with liquid agony. I bit down on my lip hard enough to draw blood, fighting the scream that wanted to escape. Had to stay focused. Had to filter the poison through my own blood, let my red scent gift neutralize it, then push the cure back into the queen. Around me, I heard gasps. Felt Valerius move closer, his scent wrapping around me like a shield. Her blood, someone whispered. It's turning black. They were right. I could feel it. The poison spreading through my system, my red scent blood fighting it, the battle happening in real time inside my own veins. My hand over the queen's heart glowed faintly crimson, the red light pulsing with each labored beat. Stay back, Valerius commanded the others, his voice brooking no argument. Let her work. The pain intensified. I felt like I was burning from the inside out, like the poison was trying to consume me whole. But I held on, held the connection, whispered the ancient words through gritted teeth. And slowly, so slowly, I felt the poison begin to break down. Felt my blood neutralize it, transform it, render it harmless. Felt the cure flow back into Queen Lyra, chasing the darkness from her veins. Her breathing steadied. The gray pallor began to fade from her skin. The black veins in her eyes receded. It's working, someone breathed. But I wasn't done yet. The poison was stubborn, clinging to life as desperately as its victim. I had to pull every last drop of it out, had to make sure none remained to fester and return. So I took it all, every bit of Red Death poison in the Queen's system. I pulled into my own body and neutralized it with my blood. By the time I finished, I was shaking, covered in sweat, my vision graying at the edges. I pulled my hand back from the Queen's chest. She was breathing normally now, her color returning, her eyes clear when they fluttered open. "It worked," Valerius said, his voice filled with wonder and disbelief. "You actually—" I collapsed before he finished the sentence, the poison's remnants still burning through my system. The last thing I felt before darkness claimed me was strong arms catching me, the scent of cold iron and winter frost, and the mate bond flaring with desperate, undeniable need. Act 3. The Forbidden Healing Awakening. I woke to softness. Not the cold stone of a cell floor, but actual softness. A bed with clean sheets, pillows that didn't smell like mildew and despair, warm from a fire burning in an ornate hearth. For a moment, I thought I was dreaming, or dead. Then the pain hit, a dull, throbbing ache in my veins where the poison had burned through. My palm was bandaged, the wound from the ritual knife carefully treated. And I was clean, wearing a simple but well-made nightgown, my hair washed and brushed. "You're awake." I turned my head, too fast, making the room spin, and found Valerius sitting in a chair beside the bed. He looked exhausted, his usually perfect appearance disheveled, dark circles under his ice-blue eyes. His shirt was half unbuttoned, his hair mussed as if he'd been running his hands through it. "How long?" My voice came out as a croak. 2 days. You've been unconscious for 2 days. He leaned forward, his expression unreadable. "The healer said you had enough poison in your system to kill a full-grown alpha. How are you alive? Red scent blood. It's both our greatest strength and greatest curse." I tried to sit up, failed, and hated how weak I felt. The Queen, recovering. Fully, she woke yesterday, asking what happened. Something shifted in his face, guilt, maybe, or shame. "You saved her life. That was the deal. The deal was that I'd give you a quick death if you succeeded." His jaw clenched. "Instead, you nearly died saving my mate. Why?" "Because I'm a healer. It's what I do." I met his eyes. "Besides, she's innocent in all this. She doesn't deserve to die for someone else's vendetta." "Someone else's." He stood abruptly, pacing to the window. "You keep implying there's a conspiracy, that someone deliberately poisoned both my mates to frame the red scent bloodline. Do you have any proof? Or just convenient theories that absolve your people of guilt?" "I have Beta Kale's confession." He went very still. "Explain." So I told him. Everything Kale had said in my cell, the threats, the barely concealed admission. Valerius listened with growing tension, his hands clenched into fists. "Kale has served me for 8 years, since before Celestia died." But his voice held doubt now. Why would he betray me? Power, revenge, ambition. Pick your poison, pun intended. I forced myself to sit up despite the protests of my body. Think about it, Alpha King. Luna Celestia dies of Red Death. You issue the Iron Decree. 4 or 5 years, you've been so focused on hunting my bloodline that you've been blind to threats within your own court. Meanwhile, Kale's been positioning himself as your most trusted advisor, the voice of reason and strength. And now, when you have a second mate who might actually heal some of your grief, she's poisoned too, with the same poison. when there are barely any red-scent Omegas left to blame. If Kale wanted power, there are easier ways. Not if you're immortal. The word stopped him mid-sentence. Alphas live centuries if they're not killed in battle. He can't just wait you out. He has to weaken you, break you, make you vulnerable. What better way than to kill the people you love and convince you the enemy is an extinct bloodline instead of your own beta? Valerius turned from the window, and I saw the moment belief crept into his eyes. The night Celestia died, Kale was the one who found her. He's the one who identified the poison as Red Death. He's the one who suggested the Iron Decree. And I'm betting he's been the most enthusiastic enforcer of that decree. The most vocal about hunting my people down. Yes, the word was barely a whisper. Moon Goddess, I've been a fool. You've been grieving. There's a difference. I swung my legs out of bed, ignoring the way the room tilted. But now you know the truth. The question is, what are you going to do about it? He crossed the room in 2 strides, catching me as my legs gave out. His arms wrapped around me, steadying me, and the mate bond exploded between us with enough force to steal my breath. This close, I could see the ice blue of his eyes wasn't cold at all. It was burning. Could feel the way his heart raced against my cheek. Could smell the way his scent shifted, darkening with desire and need, and the desperate pull of bond he'd been fighting since the moment we met. I don't know, he said hoarsely. I don't know how to fix what I've broken. I've spent 5 years hunting your people, killing them. Your mother died screaming. I know. I was there. I pulled back enough to meet his eyes. I watched him drag her to the pyre, watched her burn for a crime she didn't commit, and I've hated you for it every day since. Pain lanced across his face. Then why did you save Lyra? Why risk your life for my mate when I destroyed everything you love? Because she's innocent. Because I'm a healer, and I took an oath to save lives regardless of who they belong to. I reached up, touching his face gently, and because somewhere under all this rage and grief, I can feel the real you, the one the mate bond sees, the one you've buried so deep you've forgotten he exists. That man died with Celestia. No, that man has been drowning in guilt and pain, being manipulated by someone he trusted, but he's not dead. I let my hand fall, and he's the only one who can stop Kale before more people die. He stared at me for a long moment. Then he carefully set me back on the bed, putting distance between us like it physically hurt. Rest. Recover your strength. His voice had gone formal again, controlled. When you're well enough, I'll need you to testify before the council about what Kale said. And then I'll grant you your freedom, as payment for saving the Queen's life. He moved toward the door, not looking at me. You'll be escorted safely out of Shadow Moon territory with supplies and... No. He stopped. No. I'm not leaving until Kale is exposed and executed. He killed my mother. He killed your first mate. He tried to kill your second mate. I stood again, more carefully this time. And if you think I'm going to run away and let him get away with it, you don't know me at all, Alpha King. You're asking to stay in a pack that's been hunting you, in a fortress full of wolves who want you dead. I'm saying I'm staying until justice is done, whether you like it or not. Something that might have been respect flickered across his face. You're either the bravest or most foolish Omega I've ever met. Both. Definitely both. I managed a weak smile. Now get out. I need to sleep if I'm going to survive long enough to watch Kale burn. He almost smiled back. Almost. Then the mask slipped back into place, and he left without another word. But I'd felt it through the bond, that flicker of real emotion, that crack in his carefully constructed walls. We were both in so much trouble. The Queen's gratitude. I woke later to find I wasn't alone. Queen Lyra sat in the chair Valerius had occupied, her golden hair braided simply, her delicate face much healthier than the last time I'd seen it. She wore a soft blue dress and had a gentle smile that didn't match the steel I sensed underneath. "Hello, Lyra. May I call you Lyra?" I pushed myself up to sitting, suddenly very aware that I was in a nightgown in the Queen's presence. "Your Majesty, you shouldn't be here. You should still be resting." "I've been resting for 2 days while you nearly died saving my life." She leaned forward, her brown eyes serious. "I came to thank you, and to apologize." "Apologize?" I knew about the Iron Decree when I married Valerius. Knew he was hunting red scent Omegas. I didn't question it because, she paused, choosing her words carefully, because he was so broken when we met, still grieving Celestia. I thought if I could be patient, if I could give him stability and gentleness, he might heal enough to see reason. Did it work? No. If anything, he became more ruthless in his hunts. She looked down at her hands. I tried to intervene a few times, suggested pardons, questioned the evidence. But Beta Kale was always there, reinforcing Valerius' certainty that red scent Omegas were the threat. "Kale poisoned you." "I know. I suspected before, but now—" She met my eyes. When I woke, I remembered. Kale brought me tea the evening before I fell ill. Said it would help me sleep. I drank it to be polite, even though something felt wrong. I slid down my spine. "You need to tell Valerius." I did. He doesn't want to believe it. Kale has been his right hand for so long. The betrayal is too painful to accept without absolute proof. She reached out, taking my hand gently. "Which is why I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me." I braced myself. "Ask." "The mate bond between you and Valerius. It's real, isn't it?" I've been expecting questions about Kale, about the poison. Not this. Your Majesty, I would never." "Peace. I'm not angry." Her smile was sad but genuine. "Valerius and I were never true mates. We built something comfortable, something stable. But there was never the fire, the certainty, the absolute knowing that comes with a fated bond." She squeezed my hand. "I felt it when you were healing me. The way his scent changed. The way he couldn't look away from you even when you were literally pulling poison into your own body. That's not loyalty to a healer. That's a mate responding to his other half. It doesn't matter. He hates what I am. And even if he didn't..." I looked away. "I can't be what he needs. I'm red scent, rogue. Everything his pack despises. Or everything his pack needs." Queen Lyra stood, moving to window. "You saved my life. That's irrefutable. When word spreads, and it will, about how a red scent Omega cured Red Death poison, it will shake the foundation of the Iron Decree. Some will call it miracle. Others will call it proof that your bloodline is exactly what you claim. Healers, not murderers. And Valerius will be forced to choose between his hatred and his heart." She turned back to me. "For what it's worth, I'm hoping he chooses his heart. He deserves happiness after so much pain. And you..." Her eyes softened. "You deserve a pack that sees you for what you truly are." Before I could respond, the door burst open. A guard, breathing hard, his face pale. "Your Majesty, the prisoner, Lyra. She needs to come immediately. Beta Kale has called an emergency council. He's demanding her execution for..." for using dark magic on the Queen. Kale's move. They dressed me hastily. Simple gray dress, my hair still damp, no shoes. Didn't matter. I was being dragged before the council to defend myself against accusations of dark magic, and dress codes were the least of my concerns. Queen Lyra insisted on coming with me, despite the protests of her attendants. If they're going to condemn my savior, they'll do it in front of me, she declared, her gentle facade dropping to reveal the steel underneath. The council chamber was packed. Every high-ranking member of the Shadow Moon Pack had been summoned. Warriors, healers, elders, nobles. They stood in a circle around a raised platform where Valerius sat on his throne, looking like he'd aged a decade in a few hours. And standing before him, playing the role of concerned advisor perfection, was Beta Kale. "My king," Kale said, his voice carrying across the chamber. "I know this is difficult, but we must face facts. The Omega use forbidden blood rituals on our queen. Yes, Queen Lyra lives, but at what cost? What darkness has been woven into her? What price will we pay for allowing red scent magic into our very heart?" Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. "The queen appears healthy," Valerius said, but I could hear the doubt in his voice. The healers confirmed she's recovering normally. "Appears" is a crucial word, Alpha King. Kale gestured dramatically. Red death is insidious. It corrupts slowly. For all we know, the Omega simply delayed the inevitable, or worse, bound our queen to some dark purpose we cannot yet see. That's absurd. Queen Lyra's voice rang out as we entered. The crowd parted for her, bowing, their shock evident. "I am perfectly well. Lyra saved my life using ancient healing techniques, not dark magic." "Your Majesty." Kale bowed respectfully, but his amber eyes glittered with calculation. "With all due respect, you may not recognize the corruption within you. It's said that red scent magic can cloud the mind, make victims loyal to their poisoner. I am not a victim, and she is not a poisoner." Lyra's voice cracked like a whip. "Beta Kale, I remember everything, including the tea you brought me the night before I fell ill." The chamber went dead silent. Kale's expression didn't change, but I saw his hand twitch toward the knife at his belt. "Your Majesty is confused. The poison has affected your memory." "My memory is perfect." Lyra moved to stand beside Valerius's throne. "You brought me tea. Said it would help me sleep. I drank it to be polite, even though something about your scent was wrong. Within hours, I was dying. This is madness." Kale turned to Valerius, his voice urgent. "Can't you see? The red scent has corrupted her mind. She's been spelled to believe lies, to turn against those who are truly loyal to you. Or," I said, my voice cutting to the chaos, "you're a traitor who's been manipulating the Alpha King for years." All eyes turned to me. I stepped forward, ignoring the way my legs shook, ignoring the hostile stares from pack members who'd spent years being taught to fear my bloodline. "You poisoned Luna Celestia 5 years ago with Red Death poison. You were the one who discovered her, who identified the poison, who convinced Alpha King Valerius it was the Red Scent bloodline's fault. You orchestrated the Iron Decree, ensuring my people will be hunted to extinction. Not because we're dangerous, but because we're the only ones who can cure the poison you create. These are the desperate lies of a rogue facing execution," Kale said smoothly, but I saw sweat bead on his forehead. "Then explain how you knew what I said in my cell." I moved closer to the platform. "You visited me before the healing ritual. Told me the queen was unfortunate collateral. Said that when I failed to heal her, It would prove red scent omegas must be eradicated. Those were your exact words. Beta, why would you assume I'd fail, unless you knew the poison was designed to be fatal even with treatment? I said no such thing. And you said the mate bond between myself and Alpha King Valerius was unfortunate and messy. How did you know about the mate bond? No one else did. We'd barely acknowledged it ourselves. I turned to Valerius. Unless he's been watching us, studying us, waiting for the perfect moment to eliminate both threats to his plan. Valerius stood slowly, his ice-blue eyes fixed on his beta. Kale, answer her. My king, you cannot possibly believe. I asked you a question, beta. How did you know about the mate bond? For the first time, Kale's mask slipped. Just for a second, I saw rage flash across his face. Pure, undiluted hatred. Because I've been watching you pine after every Omega you see for 5 years. The words burst from him, venom-soaked. Because you're weak. Because you let sentiment cloud your judgment. Because you're supposed to remain broken, grieving, easy to control. The chamber erupted in shocked gasps. I gave you everything. Kale's composure shattered completely. I removed Celestia so you'd be vulnerable. I wrote the Iron Decree for you to sign. I spent 5 years positioning myself as your most trusted advisor while you played at being king. And now, when you finally have a second mate who might actually make you strong again, you have the audacity to question me. You killed Celestia. Valerius's voice was deadly quiet. You murdered my mate. I freed you from her. She was making you soft, making you merciful. Under her influence, you have been a weak king, easily overthrown. Kale drew his knife, the blade glinting in the torchlight. But you wouldn't stay weak. You found a Lyra, started healing. So I had to poison her too. And it would have worked if this red scent bitch hadn't interfered. He moved fast, faster than should have been possible. Lunged toward me with the knife raised, death in his eyes. But Valerius moved faster. The Alpha King shifted mid-leap, his massive wolf form exploding from his human body. He hit Kale mid-stride, sending them both crashing to the stone floor. The knife clattered away, and I saw what I'd only sensed before. Kale wasn't fully wolf. There was something else in him, something dark and twisted. His scent changed, revealing corruption underneath. Dark magic, blood rituals, forbidden power stolen from the very red scent Omegas he'd been killing. You've been using our blood. Horror washed over me. That's how you created Red Death poison. You've been harvesting red scent blood to fuel dark magic. Had to. Kale was laughing even as Valerius's wolf pinned him down. Your bloodline is the most powerful in existence. Pure healing energy, just waiting to be corrupted and weaponized. Why do you think I wanted you extinct? Can't have healers running around able to undo my work. You monster. Valerius snarled, shifting back to human form. You betrayed everything this pack stands for. This pack is weak, led by a lovesick alpha who can't see past his own sentiment. I would have made us strong. I would have... He didn't get to finish. Valerius's hand closed around his throat, cutting off his words, his air, his life. You will stand trial for treason, for murder, for crimes against the pack and against the red scent bloodline. Valerius's voice carried absolute authority. And when you're found guilty, and you will be, you'll burn like the traitor you are. Guards dragged Kale away, still laughing, still ranting about power and weakness and destiny. The council chamber erupted in chaos, shock, outrage, demands for immediate execution. But I couldn't hear any of it over the ringing in my ears. It was over. Kale was exposed. The truth was out. So why did I feel like something was still terribly wrong? Act 4. The hidden history and shared trauma. The isolation tower. For your own protection, they said. After Kale's exposure, after his ranting confession in front of the entire council, they moved me to the isolation tower, a tall, narrow structure on the eastern edge of the fortress. For my safety, they claimed, because Kale had loyalists, wolves who believed his lies for years, and might seek revenge against the red-scent Omega who'd expose him. But as I stood in the circular stone room at the top of the tower, staring out at the dying forest beyond, I knew the truth. They were isolating me to study me, to decide what to do with me now that I wasn't an enemy but wasn't exactly welcome either. The room was comfortable enough. A bed, a desk, a small bathing area. But the door was locked from the outside, and guards were posted at the base of the tower. A gilded cage was still a cage. I moved to the desk, running my fingers over its scarred surface. Someone had carved something into wood. Words worn smooth by time but still legible. The betrayal always comes from within. Trust the blood, not the bond. MC. MC? I traced the letters, my red scent gift tingling. These carvings were old, decades old at least, who had been imprisoned here before me. And why did their warning feel so relevant? I continued exploring, searching for more clues. Found them scratched into the stone walls, hidden behind the small bookshelf, etched into the underside of the bed frame. Beta Aldrich poisoned the king. Used stolen red scent blood, same as they'll do again. They burned my family, called us cursed, but we were only trying to heal. If you're reading this, red scent sister, know that history repeats. The betas crave power. They'll always blame us. My hand shook as I read message after message, a chronicle of past betrayals carved in desperation by someone who'd been here before. Someone who'd known the truth and tried to warn the future. MC Maria Crimsonheart. The name surfaced from my mother's stories, a famous red scent healer who'd served the Shadow Moon Pack 50 years ago, who'd been imprisoned for dark magic and executed despite her innocence. Moon Goddess. I breathed. This has happened before. Exactly like this. A pattern stretching back decades, maybe centuries. Ambitious betas poisoning pack leaders, framing reds and omegas, using the grief and rage of alphas to justify genocide, all to position themselves for power while eliminating the only bloodline capable of exposing their crimes. I had to tell Valerius, had to show him these carvings, prove that Kale wasn't an isolated incident but part of a much larger conspiracy. I moved to the door, pounded on it. Guard, I need to speak with the Alpha King. It's urgent. No response. Either they couldn't hear me from the bottom of the tower, or they'd been ordered not to listen. I tried the window. Too high to jump. No way down except the locked door and the stairs I couldn't access. I was trapped, and somewhere out there, Kale was in a cell, probably being interrogated. But what if he wasn't alone? What if he had accomplices? What if... The door opened. I spun, hope flaring, then dying as I saw who stood in the entrance. Not a guard, not Valerius. A wolf I didn't recognize. Young, maybe mid-20s, with cold eyes and a cruel smile. And behind him, 2 more wolves, all wearing the same expression of barely contained violence. The beta sent us, the first one said, his voice casual, said to make sure the red scent problem was solved permanently before anyone got soft ideas about pardons or freedom. Ice flooded my veins. Kale's in custody. He can't give orders. Kale prepared for this possibility, left instructions with those of us smart enough to see the truth, that red scent omegas are poison, no matter how pretty the package. He drew a knife. Nothing personal, Omega, but you exposed our beta. Made him look weak. Can't let that stand. They advanced into the room, fanning out to block any escape route. I backed toward the window, my mind racing. I was weak still, recovering from a healing ritual. My wolf was too small to fight 3 full-grown warriors, but I was red scent. And red scent omegas didn't survive extinction by giving up. You're making a mistake, I said, letting my voice drop into the ancient omega tone that could compel lower-rank wolves. Your beta lied to you, used you. Everything he told you about my bloodline was false. Nice try. The leader laughed. But we're beta rank. Your little omega tricks don't work on us. He lunged. I dove sideways, grabbed the desk chair, and swung it with all my strength. It connected with his head with a satisfying crack, sending him stumbling. But the other two were already moving. The window exploded inward in a shower of glass. A massive wolf, silver and white, ice blue eyes blazing, landed in the center of the room. Valerius. He climbed the outside of the tower, impossibly fast, drawn by the mate bond. He'd felt my fear through the mate bond. What happened next was brutal and efficient. Valerius shifted mid-attack, his human form somehow more terrifying than his wolf. He moved like death itself, disarming the first attacker, breaking the second's arm, throwing the third against a wall hard enough to crack stone. In under 30 seconds, all 3 of Kale's loyalists were unconscious or whimpering on the floor. Then Valerius turned to me, his ice blue eyes wild, his chest heaving, blood spattered across his face. Are you hurt? No, But the adrenaline was fading, leaving me shaking. How did you know? I felt it. Your fear. Through the bond. He moved toward me carefully, like approaching a spooked animal. I was in counsel when it hit me like a punch to the gut. I ran. You climbed the tower. I would have torn it down stone by stone if I had to. He reached out, then stopped himself, his hand hovering inches from my face. When I realized we were in danger, nothing else mattered. Not the council, not protocol, not. I closed the distance between us, pressing my forehead against his chest. Through our clothes, through skin and bone, I felt his heart racing to match mine. Thank you, I whispered. His arms came around me slowly, carefully, like he was afraid I'd bolt. I'm sorry. I put you here thinking you'd be safe. I didn't realize Kale had already corrupted so many. It's not just Kale. I pulled back enough to gesture at the walls. Look, read what's carved here. This has happened before Valerius. 50 years ago. Maybe longer. Ambitious betas poisoning alphas, framing reds and omegas, using our blood for dark magic while convincing everyone with a threat. He moved the walls, reading the messages carved by Maria Crimsonheart decades ago. I watched his expression shift from confusion to horror to rage. Beta Aldrich. His voice was hollow. My grandfather's beta. He died of natural causes before I was born. But the stories say my grandfather was never the same after his mate died mysteriously. That he became paranoid, cruel, started hunting red scent omegas obsessively. Because Aldrich poisoned his mate and blamed your bloodline, just like Kale did to you. I moved to stand beside him. This is a pattern, Valerius, a conspiracy spanning generations. And my bloodline has been taking the blame and the executions for crimes we didn't commit. He was quiet for a long moment, his hand pressed against a stone wall where Maria's final message was carved. Tell them the truth. Make them see. Don't let us die for nothing. I've been such a fool, he finally said, his voice breaking. I hunted your people, killed them, burned them, and all along they were innocent. All along, I was doing exactly what the real enemies wanted, eliminating the only bloodline that could expose their crimes. You were grieving, being manipulated. That's not an excuse. He turned to face me, and I saw tears tracking through the blood on his face. Your mother, how did she die? They dragged her from our home when I was 12, accused her of cursing a noble's child, a child who'd actually been poisoned with dark magic. She told them she could heal the child if they'd let her try, but they didn't listen. They burned her alive while I watched in the crowd. My voice stayed steady, but inside I was 12 again, screaming, being held back by strangers. She died begging them to save the child, to let her prove her innocence. They never did. The child died 3 days later. Moon Goddess. Valerius's face twisted with anguish. I signed that death warrant. I remember a red sun Omega accused of dark magic. Kale brought me the paperwork, said she was dangerous, had to be eliminated immediately. I didn't even question it. I know. You know? He looked stricken. You knew it was my signature that killed your mother, and you still saved Lyra? Still risked your life for my mate? Because my mother taught me that healing isn't about who deserves it. I met his eyes. She taught me that hate only breeds more hate, that revenge solves nothing. She taught me to be better than the people who fear us. She sounded like she was remarkable. She was. I let myself remember her, her gentle hands, her patient lessons, her absolute certainty that love was stronger than hate. She would have liked that I saved the queen, would have been proud that I chose healing over vengeance. Would she have been proud of this? He gestured between us, at the mate bond humming in the air. Of you being bound to the alpha who killed her? I don't know, I answered honestly. But I think she would have told me that mate bonds are the moon goddess's will, and we don't get to choose them. We only get to choose what we do with them. And what do you choose, Lyra? It was the first time he'd used my name. Not Omega or Red Scent or Healer. Just Lyra. I choose truth over hate, justice over revenge. And I took a breath, committing fully. And I choose to trust that the moon goddess doesn't make mistakes, even when she binds a rogue Omega to the Alpha King who's been hunting her people. He closed the remaining distance between us, cupping my face in his hands. His touch was gentle despite the violence he'd just enacted, reverent despite the blood on his skin. I don't deserve you. Probably not, but you're stuck with me anyway. I managed a shaky smile. Mate bonds are inconvenient like that. He almost smiled back. Then his expression turned serious. I need to make this right. Need to overturn the Iron Decree. Pardon your people. Hunt down every beta and wolf who participated in this conspiracy. But I can't do it alone. I need a Luna who understands a Red Scent bloodline, who can help rebuild what was broken, who can bridge the gap between your pack and mine. I finished for him. I know. Is that something you'd be willing to do? Not because of the mate bond, but because it's necessary. Because my people deserve justice. Because no more Red Scent Omegas should die for crimes they didn't commit. I held his gaze. Yes, Valerius. I'll help you. I'll stand beside you. I'll be your Luna, if you can truly accept what that means. What does it mean? It means having a mate who carries the blood you've been taught to fear, who will constantly remind you of your mistakes, who will demand changes that make your pack uncomfortable. I let him see all of me, the scars, the anger, the determination. It means choosing healing over hate, even when hate is easier. Can you do that? For answer, he kissed me. It wasn't gentle. It was desperate and fierce and tasted like blood and tears and promises. The mate bond exploded between us, finally fully acknowledged, finally accepted. I felt his soul touch mine, felt the depth of his regret and the strength of his resolve. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against mine. I choose you. I choose truth. I choose to be worthy of the second chance the moon goddess has given me, even if I spend the rest of my life trying to earn it. Good, I whispered, because we have a lot of work to do. The trial preparation. They moved me from the isolation tower to chambers adjacent to the Queen's suite. A clear message that my status had changed from prisoner to something else entirely. Not quite Luna yet, but no longer condemned. The whole fortress was in chaos. Kale's confession had shattered assumptions held for years. Wolves who participated in hunts were being questioned. Records were being examined. And slowly, horrifyingly, the full scope of conspiracy was emerging. Kale hadn't worked alone. He'd cultivated a network of ambitious wolves over decades, betas, warriors, even some healers who'd been promised power in exchange for helping frame the Red Scent bloodline. They'd been the ones providing false evidence, identifying innocent Omegas as threats, ensuring convictions were swift and executions immediate. And the Red Scent blood they'd stolen from murdered Omegas, they'd been using it for dark magic rituals, creating poisons and curses that they then blamed on my bloodline. A perfect, self-sustaining cycle of genocide and power accumulation. Queen Lyra came to visit me the evening before Kale's formal trial. She looked tired but determined, her gentle facade completely gone now. The council is divided, she said without preamble. Half want Kale executed immediately. The other half are terrified of what a full investigation will reveal about their own complicity. Let me guess, the ones calling for immediate execution are the ones with the most to hide. Exactly. She sat across from me. Valerius wants a full public trial. Wants every crime exposed, every victim named. But there's pushback. Wolves saying it will destabilize the pack, that we should handle it quietly, that dragging Red Scent history into public view will only cause more problems. Translation, they want to protect themselves and sweep the genocide under the rug. Essentially, she met my eyes, which is why Valerius needs you at that trial. Needs you to testify about what Kale said, about what you discovered in the tower. Needs you to be the living proof that the Red Scent bloodline isn't the monster they've been taught to fear. They'll hate me for it. Some will. Others will see the truth and feel ashamed. A few might even apologize, though don't hold your breath on that. She reached out, taking my hand. But Lyra, this isn't just about exposing Kale. It's about preventing this from happening again. About making sure no more Red Scent Omegas die for lies. I know. I squeeze her hand. I'll testify. I'll stand before the whole pack and tell them everything, even if they hate me for it. That's not all Valerius is planning. She hesitated. He's going to publicly claim you as his true mate during the trial. My heart stopped. What? It's brilliant, actually. If he claims you in front of the entire pack, it serves multiple purposes. Proves the mate bond is real, demonstrates that red scent Omegas aren't cursed, and makes you untouchable under pack law. She smiles slightly. It also completely upends the power structure. Any wolf who wants to challenge you will have to go through the Alpha King. And trust me, after they see what he did to those 3 warriors who attacked you in the tower, no one will be eager to test his protection. But you're his queen, his chosen mate, not his true mate. She spoke gently, with no bitterness. I've always known Valerius, and I were temporary. A safe harbor while he healed from Celestia's death. But you're what he needs to truly move forward. What the pack needs to heal from years of lies. You're really okay with this? I'm grateful for it. She stood, preparing to leave. I got to be queen. Got to help stabilize the pack during difficult years. Got to be part of something larger than myself. Now it's time for me to step aside and let the true Luna take her place. Besides, her smile turned mischievous. I've already received 3 courtship offers from visiting alphas. Apparently, being known as the queen who survived Red Death poison makes me quite attractive. After she left, I stood at the window, watching night fall over the fortress. Tomorrow, everything would change. Tomorrow, I'd stand before the pack that had hunted my people and demand they face their crimes. Tomorrow, I'd become Luna to the Alpha King who'd sign my mother's death warrant. The moon goddess really did have a twisted sense of humor. The night before Valerius came to me that night. I wasn't sleeping, couldn't sleep, knowing what tomorrow would bring. I was sitting by the fire, reading through the documents he'd sent. Records of Red Scent executions, evidence of Kale's network, testimonies from wolves who'd started to crack under questioning. The weight of it all was crushing. Hundreds of my people killed, families destroyed, a bloodline nearly driven to extinction based on manufactured lies. You should rest, Valerius said from the doorway. Tomorrow will be difficult. Tomorrow, I'm going to stand in front of your pack and detail every way they wronged my people. Rest seems unlikely. He crossed the room, sitting beside me on the floor in front of the fire. In the firelight, he looked younger, less like an Alpha King, and more like a man carrying impossible weight. I've been reading through old records, he said quietly, trying to trace how far back this goes. Found mentions of Red Scent Omega executions dating back nearly 2 centuries, all of them following the same pattern. A high-ranking wolf dies mysteriously, a Red Scent Omega is blamed, they're executed before they can defend themselves. 2 centuries of genocide, and no one questioned it. Some did, found dissenting voices in old council minutes. Wolves arguing for due process, demanding investigations, but they were always shouted down or mysteriously died shortly after. He looked at me. Your bloodline has been systematically targeted for generations, Lyra, and mine has been the weapon used to do it. You didn't know. I should have. His voice was harsh. I'm the Alpha King. It's my responsibility to question, to investigate, to ensure justice. Instead, I let grief and manipulation turn me into a genocidal tyrant. You were a tool, used by someone you trusted. That doesn't absolve me. He turned to face me fully. When I publicly claim you tomorrow, when I stand before the pack and acknowledge you as my true mate, some of them will see it as betrayal, as their alpha choosing the enemy over them. I know there might be challenges, wolves who refuse to accept you, who will try to hurt me. I know that too. And you're still willing to do this? To put yourself in danger, to face a pack that's been hunting you, to become Luna to people who hate everything you represent. I reached up, cupping his face in my hand. Through the bond, I felt his fear, not for himself, but for me. His desperate hope that this would work warring with his certainty that he was asking too much. I'm willing, I said firmly, not because of the mate bond, though that's part of it, but because someone has to break this cycle. Someone has to stand up and say enough. If not me, then who? I'm the Red Scent Omega, who healed the Queen. I'm the living proof that your people have been lied to. I'm the one who can bridge this gap, if I'm brave enough to try. You're the bravest person I've ever met. I'm terrified. That's what makes it brave. He leaned into my touch. I don't deserve you. Don't deserve this second chance. But I swear to you, Lyra, I will spend the rest of my life making this right. Protecting your people. Undoing the damage I've caused. Being worthy of you. Then start by standing with me tomorrow. When they question me, doubt me, hate me, stand with me. Let them see that their alpha believes in the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. Always. He pulled me against his chest, his arms wrapping around me. I'll stand with you always, even if the whole pack turns against us. We sat like that for a long time, wrapped in each other in the fire's warmth, drawing strength from our bond. Tomorrow would be brutal. Tomorrow would change everything. But tonight, we had this, a moment of peace before the storm. Act V, the traitor revealed and the choice. The public trial. The trial was held in the Great Hall, a massive space that could hold the entire pack. And from the looks of it, the entire pack had come. Thousands of wolves packed into the hall, and spilling out into the courtyards, all wanting to witness the beta's downfall, or my execution. The crowd seemed split on which they preferred. I stood beside Valerius on the raised platform, wearing a simple but elegant dress in deep crimson, a deliberate choice, displaying my red scent bloodline proudly instead of hiding it. The crowd's reaction was mixed. Shocked gasps, angry mutters, a few approving nods from wolves who'd started to question the old lies. Beta Kale was brought forth in chains. He looked terrible, beaten, exhausted, but still defiant. His amber eyes burned with unrepentant rage as they forced him to kneel before the Alpha King. Beta Kale. Valerius's voice rang across the hall, amplified by Alpha authority. You stand accused of treason, murder, conspiracy, and crimes against a red scent bloodline spanning multiple decades. How do you plead? Guilty. Kale's voice was surprisingly strong. Guilty and proud. Everything I did was to make this pack strong, to eliminate a threat that's plagued us for centuries, to position us for true power. Gasps rippled through the crowd. You murdered my first mate. I freed you from weakness. Kale snarled. Celestia was making you soft, making you merciful. Under her influence, you would have been overthrown within years. You poisoned Queen Lyra because you were making the same mistake again, choosing love over strength, choosing sentiment over survival. Kale struggled against his chains. I gave you everything, built your reputation as the strongest alpha in the West, eliminated your enemies. All I asked in return was that you stay focused on power instead of chasing after Omegas. Valerius's expression was carved from stone, and the red scent Omegas, the hundreds you had executed, necessary casualties. Their bloodline is too powerful, too dangerous. As long as red scent healers exist, they can undo dark magic, cure impossible poisons, see through deceptions. They had to be eliminated for my plans to succeed. So you framed them for murders you committed. I used their blood for dark magic rituals, then blamed the magic on them. Elegant, really. Kale's smile was vicious, and it worked perfectly for 50 years. Would still be working if this little bitch hadn't interfered. He looked directly at me, his hatred palpable. You should have died in that raid. Should have burned with your mother. Instead, you lived long enough to ruin everything. Kale's words echoed through the great hall. Silence followed, thick, suffocating, deadly. Valerius moved, not as a grieving mate, not as a manipulated king, but as an alpha who finally understood the full weight of his sins. You do not get to speak her name, Valerius said quietly. His alpha aura exploded outward, slamming into the crowd like a physical force. Wolves dropped to one knee, some to both. Even the elders stiffened under it. You confess, Valerius continued, voice carrying effortlessly, to murdering 2 Lunas, to orchestrating the slaughter of hundreds, to using stolen red scent blood to fuel dark magic, to manipulating this pack for decades. Kale laughed. Confess? I'm proud. History will remember me as the one who made Shadow Moon strong. No, I said, stepping forward before Valerius could stop me. The crowd stirred, eyes locked on me. History will remember you, I said steadily, as a parasite who fed on grief, fear, and lies. And today history ends with you. Kale snarled. You think standing beside him makes you powerful, Omega? I met his gaze without flinching. No, standing in the truth does. I turned the crowd, to the warriors who hunted my people. I said, voice ringing clear, to the healers who watched innocent Omegas burn, to the elders who signed execution orders without investigation. Murmurs rippled outward. You were lied to, I continued, manipulated. But ignorance does not erase blood. My bloodline was not cursed. We were hunted because we could see through lies like his. I lifted my hands, palms outward. You saw me heal your queen. You saw poison leave her body and life return. If red scent blood were evil, she would be dead. Queen Lyra stepped forward then, standing beside Valerius. I am alive, she said calmly. Because of Lyra, because of the blood you were taught to fear. A crack spread through the crowd. Doubt, shame, anger, no longer directed at me. Valerius raised his hand. By alpha law, he declared, Beta Kale is stripped of rank, name, and protection. He will not be executed quickly. Kale's smile faltered for the first time. He will face full judgment, Valerius continued, and every accomplice, no matter their station, will face the same. Kale screamed then, thrashing against his chains. You will regret this. Weakness will destroy you. She will destroy you. Valerius looked at him once, cold, final. No, he said. She saved me. He turned to the guards. Take him. Kale was dragged away, screaming curses that echoed uselessly against stone. The great hall remained silent. Valerius turned to the crowd. The Iron Decree is abolished, he announced. Effective immediately. Gasps, cries, shock. All red scent executions are declared unlawful, he continued. Every surviving red scent Omega is granted full protection under Shadow Moon law. He reached for my hand. And hear this clearly, he said. Lyra of the red scent is my true mate, by blood, by bond, by choice. The mate bond surged, visible this time. A silver-crimson glow pulsed between us, ancient and undeniable. I claim her as Luna of Shadow Moon. The hall exploded. Some wolves dropped to their knees in instinctive submission. Others shouted in outrage. A few, braver than most, bowed. Valerius did not waver. Those who cannot accept this, he finished, are free to leave my pack. No one moved, because power, true power, was standing right in front of them, and it was choosing healing over fear. ACT 6. The reckoning and the rebirth aftermath justice was not swift. It was thorough. Trials followed, public, documented, undeniable. Kale's network unraveled strand by strand. Betas, elders, healers, warriors. Some confessed. Some resisted. None escaped judgment. For the first time in centuries, red-scent names were spoken aloud in the Great Hall, not as criminals, but as victims. Memorial stones were raised. Pyres were replaced with graves. And the truth was carved into history, where it could never be erased again. The new Lunami coronation was quiet. No roaring crowds. No lavish celebration. Just a pack gathered beneath the moon. Valerius knelt before me, and pressed his forehead to my hands. I swear, he said, voice steady, to rule with truth, to question fear, to protect the innocent, and to honor the blood I once condemned. I lifted his face, and I swear, I said, to heal what was broken, to speak truth even when it hurts, and to never let Shadow Moon forget what happens when power goes unquestioned. The moon rose full and bright, the bond sealed, not in fire or dominance, but in balance. Later, as we stood on the balcony overlooking the forest, Valerius spoke softly. I spent years thinking strength meant killing threats. And now, now I know, he said, brushing his thumb over my scarred palm, that strength is letting the truth live. I leaned into him, the wind carrying the scent of pine, ash, and something new. Hope. They once declared me rogue, condemned my blood as cursed. But in the end, it was forbidden blood that saved their queen, forbidden truth that saved their king, and a hunted Omega who became Luna that finally ended a centuries-old lie. And
if you enjoyed this story, would you have trusted the Alpha who destroyed your bloodline? Or would you have chosen vengeance instead of healing? Crescent Moon subscribe for more dark romance, werewolf legends, and forbidden bonds.